straight out of the SRP studios. It's time to get engaged. Growing a company is hard. We have the secret sauce to keep employees happy and get them prepared to retire. Now, here's your host, 401 Jake.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Engage podcast. I'm your host, 401 Jake. I'm here with the famous Erin Hall. She is an all-star in the 401k world. If you don't know Erin, you need to follow her. She has put out so much good information, and she's done it recently in the form of a book, which is on my list of to-dos, which I don't know when that's going to happen. Erin, tell us about that whole process. How did you end up getting the idea and then making it happen, putting a book together?
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Happy to be here. So at Strategic Retirement Partners, we had brought in a new managing director, Jonathan Schulteis, and he had written a couple of books, and I was asking him about that and his process, and I was intimidated at the idea of writing a book. I don't know if any of the listeners have ever felt that, like, that feels like a big undertaking, and it is, but he really encouraged me to do it. He was like, Erin, you can write a book. You can do that. He shared with me some ideas about his publisher and whatnot. And I had always been motivated to want to educate the marketplace of plan sponsors who just are not aware of the different types of advisors out there that service retirement plans. And I've always had this kind of idea of what could I do to help people understand that there are 3 different types of advisors out there. And for the most part, they're all getting paid the same. And I've always been, interested in this idea of like, why pay for something you're not getting? Why pay more for less? And the idea of educating the marketplace around what specialist advisors like you and me do for plan sponsors.
All right. So the name of the book is 8 Signs Your 401k Plan is Underserviced by Your Advisor, which leads into that. We already mentioned 3 different types of advisors. Yeah. And my favorite, is all over the book, is expecting more. So let's dive into that real quick. What are the 3 different types of advisors you found that do manage 401k plans?
Yeah, we've got occasionalists, generalists, and specialists. Specialists is pretty, self-explanatory. We specialize in servicing retirement plans, but the other 2 are a bit more nuanced. And it's if you know what you're to look for, if you know the signs, then you can spot, the difference between the 3. An occasionalist is somebody who's got just a handful of plans, maybe 2 to 5 plans. Oftentimes, these advisors are primarily wealth management advisors and, often at bigger name brokerage houses. And, folks who deal with wealth management clients are often dealing with business owners, and financial advisors by nature want to help people. And when their personal wealth clients say, hey, Jake, can you help me out with this 401k plan I've got? It's hard to say no. You want to be of service to your clients. So you end up with a couple of these plans, but you don't do it as a specialty, and you're not really, up to speed on all the things, that are best practices.
They're not really engaged. I mean, they're just kind of there. They take it as an account type and treat it like an IRA or other types of accounts, but there's so much more to a 401k, as we know.
So much more. That's the old, bring a fact sheet and a sandwich once a year kind of a thing, to your plan sponsor. Maybe do a review once a year, but yeah, it's probably not once a year, maybe once every couple of years kind of a thing.
Yeah. If you don't hear from them, it's all good. Show up with some donuts, say hi. I mean, I was around them. I think early in my career, I spent 10 years trying to figure it out. And 401ks were always around. Like, that's the firm I worked for. They were the occasional. And I remember pulling up one of these 401ks, I was in operations, and I was like, well, there's like a couple hundred people here. Do we ever do anything for them? And, oh, no, we don't ever hear from them. It's good. We just get paid every month. And so it always kind of sat wrong with me when I heard that. And I hadn't really figured out that was an entire specialty yet, because I was just still early and trying to just navigate the financial advisor world.
Yeah. What's interesting, that also happens not just with private wealth management, but it happens in insurance as well. There are older contracts. You can't really do that today, but there are older insurance brokers who have a life insurance license, and the old way that group annuities were put together by record keepers, you didn't even have to be securities licensed. And those folks are definitely occasionalists as well. So that's something new I've run into actually.
Yeah, I've seen some of that, especially in like the nonprofit or like the school education system, where you've got in the 403B world, they're still able to kind of sell some of these annuity type products and not even be licensed. And they come in with one lunch, and then these participants sign up, and then they never see them again. And it's really unfortunate because there's so much more needed education and guidance and making the 401k be a piece of the puzzle for a participant or an employee to kind of navigate towards retirement. It's just
Absolutely.
not, you can't leave it there as a passive income for the advisor.
Right. No, I totally agree. And especially the way benefits are evolving coming out of COVID and the demand for talent, the wage inflation, the low unemployment, the 401k plan, the retirement plan should be a strategic asset for, executive recruiting and the whole thing. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And then with generalists, I find generalists are some folks that usually do 401ks as like some piece. They're doing it, on purpose, but it's not all they do. And what I find with generalists is maybe 10, maybe up to 20 plans, but usually all with the same record keeper, one or two record keepers, because again, it's not 100% devoted focus because you also have private wealth clients. And what I find with generalists are they mean well, they're trying to do a good job. They're asking for resources from wholesalers and the like, but they're kind of, when all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And trying to hammer in one vendor for every opportunity that comes in, getting a lot of resources from that vendor. And then I've seen before where it's hard to be objective when you're married to one vendor. And then us specialists.
Well, hold on. So I think the generalists, let's talk about that for a second. So
Yeah.
I think that's oftentimes the scenario there is the office or the advising group is trying to use the 401k as a way to get more opportunities with individuals. Would you think is that common? Do you believe as well?
Absolutely. So utilizing the 401k plan as a conduit to working with participants for their personal wealth management. I think that is absolutely a theme. And that's not bad. I think participants need help. And if there's an advisor that they're aware of that they can engage with, ask questions, maybe starting with the 401k plan. But, we have a lot of money being generationally handed down that, people are coming into money. They don't know what to do with it. They've sold house for profit. A lot of financial questions that transcend the 401k plan that people need help with. And I think it's fine to be there to provide a solution. Our approach is more, we pick up the phone when it rings. We're not dialing out to participants soliciting, but I do see a need, and I see the retirement plan industry in general paying attention to participants, trying to find ways to add value. And if the 401k plan is valued by your participants, turnover should decrease.
It's definitely a huge issue. And I think early in my career, I was understanding most, the bigger the plan, the more likelihood they wanted just a specialist that did not even have any kind of support for participants or employees after the fact, after they retired. And I think that's kind of shifted quite a bit over the last few years where it's kind of expected we need help for these people. And it cannot be just for the executive team or the ones that have large balances. It's got to be for everybody. And so figuring out that from an operational standpoint for a small investment advisor firm can be difficult, right? Because there's a lot that has to be done for the actual plan with the committee or whoever's in charge of the plan. But then you add the whole participant side to it, and you've got to determine how are you going to support both of these channels effectively and continue to grow. It's not an easy problem to solve when you try to play in all these different camps. Becoming a specialist is really important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It is the trend we're seeing. It's not totally figured out yet, but I think there are great shops that are working to have people stay in their lane. So if you're doing consulting at the committee level, then, we're in that lane and we are the driver of resources. I might not be the one delivering every piece of participant content or meeting, but I'm certainly orchestrating it all. I know at our firm, we have a director of participant education, to your point, to not ignore the folks that need help as every participant, but one person can't do it all.
Right. And I think the struggle as you head into, bigger plans, bigger groups is like, how do you manage so many people and help all of them? And it's just not an easy task. But the thing that stood out to me the most, honestly, as we talk about these three different tiers of type of advisor that touch 401ks, is you potentially could pay more for the bottom tier with less service than the top tier specialist, which is so frustrating to see and hear about. And I just wonder, what can we do to help employers better understand that?
Yeah, in fact, I would say that is more often the case when you come into a plan and they're working with especially an occasionalist, sometimes a generalist, that are paying over market.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It is frustrating, Jake, because what we do as co-fiduciaries is help plan sponsors understand the complete outline of what their plan fees are, how it works, full disclosure, and what's reasonable. That is the big term, right? Reasonable fees. And so when you come in and but at one point you don't want to make people feel bad for what they don't know. That's part of the purpose of the book, is to kind of prime the pump and help educate the marketplace of it's okay not to know the inner workings of this industry, but you don't want people to feel bad that they've been overpaying for a decade.
There's an art to it. And there's relationships, right? I mean, a lot of sales are done on relationships, especially in the benefits space. But you reach a point where you need better results and you want to pay for those results and put those dollars to work, get the best return on it. So it's fun to see that start to shift as companies grow and as they change. I worked a lot, physicians, which was just a very different model, different goals, different objectives than, a huge tech company. And so understanding that and finding specialists that knows that and can help you with that can make all the difference in the world and actually make the plan achieve what you want to, even if, your cousin said they could do this for you. It's a hard transition sometimes.
Expertise to meet your needs. That's one of the three key ingredients, I say, to a retirement plan. Absolutely. And that idea of expecting more, it is about evaluating. It is about raising your eyebrow to those you do business with. And from a retirement plan perspective, you have this additional layer of a risk of fiduciary responsibility. If you want to hire your brother to be a vendor for X, Y, or Z, that doesn't carry fiduciary responsibility with it like the retirement plan does. So, the government is even, upping the ante as far as that idea of you not only should expect more, ERISA expects you to expect more and to evaluate what's reasonable from your service providers.
Yeah, 100%. In every aspect of the business. I mean, you've got to be careful there. And in the 401k, I feel like it's oftentimes just not, it's kind of kicked to the side. Well, it's not a big deal. And they don't realize how serious it could be, if they had an audit. Most plans aren't going to be the size that they're going to have to deal with a lawsuit.
Right.
But I have heard, I've heard in a conference an attorney say, who defended employers that were being sued by employees about their plan. His retirement plan for himself was to just basically pick any of the large plans, and he was going to just find a participant and sue him. Like that's how serious you have to take it, right? Because you're never going to have a perfect 401k, and that's the struggle. Is it's continually reviewing and like working towards progressing, making sure the plan is doing what you want. It's never going to be completely done and just like on autopilot. And
Yeah,
that's
and
the hard part.
to that point, Jake, there are so many things that us as specialists deliver as a regular part of our service, and it's always evolving.
Mhm.
When we meet quarterly with our team to say, what are we talking about this quarter? Well, what else can we do? What more can we do? And when we do it once for all of our clients, then it's a profitable thing to do for us, right? It's not a massive energy spend when we do a project and we do it for all of our clients. It is a big spend if you're an occasionalist or generalist, and so generally it does not get done. But the point being is, again, that compensation level is the same or sometimes less to get so much more insight, partnership, resources, fiduciary, overlay, that I hate to see plans just idling and not using this as something that can be meaningful for their organization and their goals. I love business owners. I love entrepreneurs who are charged every day to look 3-5 years down the line strategically. How are we going to make this business better? And when you do that, the 401k, it's there, it works, it's fine. But when we can marry those two ideas with how to take one thing that could take from good to great and marry it with your long-term vision, I mean, home run. We're here. We're ready to be your pinch hitters.
Yeah, and if you think about just preparing your your workforce, and it's hard because we have a lot of people leaving jobs, but if you can get them prepared and make these, they're very mobile. You can take your plan with you. But the more we get younger entrepreneurs, younger employees really thinking about saving and taking that with them and building up, it can help them in so many ways as far as when they have not income they need, or there's just all sorts of varieties where this plan, this actual account can help them. But from a business view, if you have prepared employees that can retire on time, and whatever that retirement looks like in the future, because it's changing so fast, then your business is more valuable than an age demographic that cannot retire because they need the health insurance, which gets more and more expensive every year. Because now you can't, how are you going to get rid of, how are you going to have new talent come in? So there's a long-term view to it. And Hugh O'Toole is one of my favorite people that taught me this concept of, we don't have pensions, but we still have a liability. And that's a struggle that we try to solve.
Absolutely. I worked under Hugh O'Toole at Mass Mutual and learned a lot in that exact idea, Jake, that if we can't get people to retirement, the people that are new to the company are going to see there's no path to career development if folks aren't retiring on time. We don't have that healthy pipeline. And on the back end, we have workers' comp and health insurance buildup. Yeah, it's a struggle, and it can be solved, not overnight, but it can be solved with working with a specialist on how to accomplish those goals. 3 to 5 year strategic long-term visions.
Yeah, and the specialist more becomes a partner with the company, right? And it's at the table to help you in a variety of ways to make sure that the 401k is at least a great shining part of your benefit package rather than just to check a box.
Absolutely.
And that's not what you see in other the plans that aren't really taken serious.
I have to say, never have I, in my 20 plus career, have I seen so many engaged plan sponsors, new to us, or even ones that we've worked with for a while, who are ready to say, what can we do more with the retirement plan? How can we make it better? We've been talking about it for a while. Now, in this employee favorable market, there is a lot more demand for making the retirement plan more enticing. It's exciting. It's exciting to be able to work through these things. And honestly, not only just the 401k plan, but additional executive benefits, non-qualified plans, long-term incentive programs, short-term incentive programs, these additional things that specialists have at our finger. We have these solutions available, but again, if you're not doing this every day, intricacies to these benefits and the learning curve is steep. That's why there's not very many of us.
Yeah, the amount of due diligence and research we do just as specialists is huge. We have weekly meetings. We're constantly trying to keep up to date with new regulation changes, new product developments, all these things that could help you. So you're paying for more than just someone to come in and show you an investment report. There's so much more behind the scenes that oftentimes doesn't get thought about by a business owner or a CFO or an HR director that can really help them, because they can rely on us to do it, and they don't have to go and spend hours trying to figure out this whole space, because it's a lot. It's a long time to take on.
Yeah, that's actually one of my signs. If you're in annual reviews or whatever, quarterly, semi-annual reviews are more than 10 to 15% about investments, you're probably not with a specialist, right? There's so much other things to talk about. Investments are important, absolutely. But, when you're working with co-fiduciaries or, discretionary fiduciaries, we got that covered. We're looking at it all the time when we're not in our meetings with you. We're going to tell you when there's a problem. We're going to tell you when we think we need a fund change, but there are so many other things that could be meaningful for the business. Yeah, if your investment reviews with your advisor are like Groundhog's Day, it's the same thing over and over. We review all the funds and talk about all the quantitative analysis about the funds. That's because that's what that's what that advisor's good at, looking at investments.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we're taught, I think, early on, depending on who is actually mentoring. There's not really a great training program for a 401k specialist,
right.
But the ones that start out, they jump right in because that's what this industry norm is. You talk about investments, and there's you're like you said, it should be no more than 10 or 15% of the time. It's kind of down the list per se, because you need to make sure that the plan is achieving the goals that the overall company wants. So all great stuff. So you have 8 things that you should look at. The book is on Amazon. You've got a great website along with the book, so you can check that out and kind of get some sneak peeks to what the different topics are. It's 401kexpectmore.com. I love the Expect More. I think it really resonates with a lot of people. It needs to help you take it serious as well. So if anyone wants to reach out to either of us, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can go to the website. Erin, she's in Los Angeles, but she can help anyone across the country. We all can. We've got people all over the place. So get the book. If you want a free copy, DM me. I'm giving out free copies to anybody that wants one. So I'm excited just to make sure we get people taking this serious. And Erin's one of the best in the industry, so check out her book. Anything you want to add, Erin?
Expect more. Expect more with not just your retirement plan, in life. I think coming out of COVID, we got one shot, we got one life. Let's go live it. Let's go not settle for the status quo. Go expect more with every aspect of your business and your life.
Love it. Expect more. Sounds good. Thanks, Erin.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks for engaging with us. Now for some disclosures. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Global Retirement Partners, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Global Retirement Partners and Strategic Retirement Partners are separate entities from LPL Financial. Global Retirement Partners employs or contracts with individuals who may be registered representatives of LPL Financial and investment advisor representatives of Global Retirement Partners, or solely investment advisor representatives of Global Retirement Partners. Although all personnel operate their businesses under the name Strategic Retirement Partners, they are each possibly subject to differing obligations and limitations and may be able to provide differing products or services. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.